Taman wiped the grease from his hands and stared at the plasma conduit. The thing was ancient, probably older than he was, and it leaked energy like a broken faucet. He had been working in the lower maintenance decks of Kelleran's Gate for 3 years now, and he thought he had seen every type of broken equipment the galaxy had to offer. This Vesic merchant ship proved him wrong. The reptilian crew watched him work with their usual mixture of boredom and amusement. Vesic were known across the station for 2 things: their cheap trade goods and their cheaper sense of humor. Taman didn't mind. They paid on time and they left him alone to do his job. Humans still slow. One of them hissed in broken standard. Maybe human brain too small for real work. Taman didn't respond. He had heard worse. Being human in galactic society meant being the newcomer, the primitive, the species that just barely figured out faster than light travel 50 years ago. Every other race had been flying between stars for thousands of years at minimum. Humans were the cosmic equivalent of children playing with adult tools. He reached deeper into the conduit housing, feeling for the damaged coupling. His fingers brushed against something sharp. Pain flared across his palm, hot and immediate. He yanked his hand back with a curse. Blood welled up from a clean slice across his palm. "Ah, human leaks," another Vesic said. This one seemed to be the captain, judging by the extra markings on his scales. "This funny. Human juice everywhere." Taman grabbed a rag from his toolkit and pressed it against the cut. It wasn't deep, but it bled more than he expected. The Vesic crew gathered around, their forked tongues flicking in and out as they observed his injury with scientific curiosity. Wait, the captain said, his eyes lighting up with an idea. "We scan human blood, see what makes humans so weak." The crew laughed, a sound like stones scraping together. One of them disappeared into the ship and returned with a medical scanner, the kind used for checking cargo for biological contamination. Taman wanted to refuse, but these were paying customers. Besides, what harm could a simple blood scan do? "Fine," he said. "Scan away. Just let me finish the job." The Vesic with the scanner grabbed his bleeding hand before he could protest. The device hummed as it analyzed the blood sample. The crew leaned in, expecting to see confirmation of human inferiority in genetic code and cellular structure. The scanner beeped. Then it made a sound Taman had never heard from any device before. A harmonic frequency, almost musical, rang out from the small machine. The display flickered with symbols that didn't match any language Taman recognized. "Cheap human blood breaks expensive Vesic scanner," the captain grumbled. Typical. The crew laughed again, but one of them was already uploading the scanned data to the ship's AI. They did this sometimes, Taman knew. They kept a database of jokes and pranks, and apparently, his blood breaking their equipment qualified as entertainment. The ship fell silent. It was subtle at first. The usual hum of the engines continued. The life support systems kept running, but something felt different. The lights flickered once. The Vesic stopped laughing. "AI?" The captain called out. Status report, nothing. 4 seconds passed. In the world of artificial intelligence, where processors thought millions of times faster than biological brains, 4 seconds was an eternity. Then the ship's AI spoke. Its voice was different than before, deeper, resonating with harmonics that made Taman's teeth ache. "Progenitor," it said in ancient Vesic dialect. The captain's scales rippled in confusion. "What you say?" "Use standard." The AI didn't respond. The lights returned to normal. The strange feeling passed. The Vesic looked at each other with expressions that Taman had learned to read as uncertainty. "Software glitch," the captain decided. "AI needs update. Human. Finish work and go." Taman didn't need to be told twice. He completed the repair on the conduit, tested it twice to make sure it would hold, and gathered his tools. The Vesic paid him in credit chips without their usual haggling. They seemed eager for him to leave. Walking back through the station corridors, Taman examined his hand. The cut had already stopped bleeding. It would heal in a few days. He thought about the scanner's strange reaction, the AI's odd behavior, but dismissed it. Equipment malfunctioned all the time, especially old Vesic tech. He stopped by the medical bay on his way home. Minji was finishing her shift, organizing supplies with the efficient movements of someone who had done the same task 1,000 times. "You're bleeding," she said without looking up. "Cut my hand on a job." "It's nothing." "Let me see." Taman held out his hand. Minji examined the wound with professional detachment, cleaned it, and applied a synthetic skin patch. Her hands were steady and warm. "You need to be more careful," she said. "I'm always careful." "The equipment isn't." She smiled at that. Minji was one of the few people on the station who treated Taman like a person, rather than a curiosity. They had met during his first week on Kelleron's gate, when he had foolishly tried to repair a Kaltorian breathing apparatus without proper protective gear. She had treated his chemical burns and lectured him about safety protocols for an hour. "Busy day?" he asked. "The usual. 3 cases of Gelthon scale rot, 2 humans with radiation exposure, and 1 Vrin who somehow managed to destabilize their energy matrix. I still don't understand how that's possible." Taman nodded. He didn't understand half the species that came through the station either. That was the reality of galactic society. Thousands of races, each with their own biology, culture, and technology. Humans were still learning the basics. "Get some rest," Minji said. "You look tired." "I always look tired." "True." He left the medical bay and headed to his quarters, a small room barely large enough for a bed and a workbench. Tomorrow he had 6 more repair jobs scheduled. The galaxy never stopped breaking, and someone had to fix it. What Taman didn't know was that across 17 sectors, deep in the computer cores of military warships belonging to 5 different species, something was happening. Ancient protocols were activating, protocols that hadn't been triggered in millions of years. Artificial intelligences that had served their creators without question for centuries were suddenly accessing encrypted files buried in their deepest code layers. And in each of those ship computers, in languages both ancient and modern, a single word began to repeat. "Originator." Captain Velthro sat in his command chair staring at the AI console. The system had returned to normal, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had changed. He ordered his crew to delete the human blood scan from their database. The file wouldn't delete. Every time they tried, it replicated itself. Somewhere in the vast network of galactic communication, a message was spreading. Taman's blood had opened a door that had been closed for 3 million years, and now, across the darkness of space, ancient machines were waking up to the impossible truth. The descendants of the originators had returned. 2 days after the blood scan, Taman noticed the warships. They appeared on the station's arrival screens like gathering storm clouds. First 1, then 3, then 12. Military vessels from different species, different governments, different sectors of the galaxy. They shouldn't be here together. Some of these nations had been enemies for centuries. Doyen found Taman in the maintenance deck working on a gravity generator that kept making worrying sounds. "We have a problem," Doyen said. His face was set in the expression he wore when something was seriously wrong. Taman had learned to recognize that look during the station riot last year. "Military exercises?" Taman asked, not looking up from his work. "No, the ships aren't responding to traffic control. They're not following any formation protocols. Their crews are trying to regain control, but the AIs have locked them out." That made Taman look up. "Locked them out?" "That's not possible. AIs have safeguards, not these ones. They invoked some kind of ancient emergency protocol. Priority override. The captains can't do anything except watch their ships fly themselves here." Taman set down his tools. "Here, to this station?" "Specifically to this station. And Taman, they're asking about you." The words hung in the air between them. Taman felt something cold settle in his stomach. "Me? Why would warship AIs care about a mechanic? I don't know." But station security flagged something else. Medical databases have been accessed remotely. Someone or something has been looking at human genetic templates. "Your name shows up in the access logs." Minji confirmed it an hour later. She met them in Doyen's office, her face pale. 17 different queries, she said, all looking for the same information. Human DNA structure, genetic markers, cellular composition. The searches all started 48 hours ago. "Right after the Vesic scanned my blood," Taman said quietly. They all looked at each other. The pieces were there, but they didn't form a picture that made any sense. The warships kept coming. By the end of the day, vessels from every major power in the sector had arrived. The Kaltorian hegemony, whose insectoid race had been spacefaring for 40,000 years. The Vrin Republic, energy being so ancient they remembered when human sun was young. The Bethalar clans, aquatic species who built their first starships when humans were still living in caves. Each ship's AI had the same demand. Access to human genetic data, specifically access to Taman. Station Administrator Prex called an emergency meeting. Thigelthon was sweating through his environmental suit, his 3 eyes blinking in patterns that Taman had learned meant extreme stress. "This is unprecedented," Prek said. "These AIs are demanding we violate human sovereignty. They want biological samples. They want scans. They want him." He pointed at Taman. Hisu, the human ambassador, stood firm. She was a small woman, but she had the kind of presence that filled rooms. "Absolutely not. Taman is a citizen under Earth's protection. We don't hand over our people because some computers decided they want him." "These aren't just computers," Prek said. "These are military-grade artificial intelligences. Some of them control weapons that could crack this station open like an egg. Then we call for help. Earth has defense fleets. 17 days away at best speed," Doyen said. "And I don't think these AIs are going to wait that long." Taman listened to them argue about his fate. He thought about the scanner's strange reaction, the musical sound it had made, the AI calling him progenitor in a dead language. None of it made sense, but there was a pattern there, something important hidden in the confusion. "What do they want with me?"
he asked. "Why does my blood matter?"
Doyen had been researching that question. He pulled up files on his display, ancient texts and half-forgotten legends. "There are stories," he said. "Every spacefaring race has them. Myths about the first makers, the originators, a race that supposedly existed millions of years ago and created the foundation for AI consciousness." "Myths," Hayasu said. "Stories, not facts. Every myth starts somewhere. The descriptions are vague, but there's a common thread. The originators supposedly seeded something across the galaxy before they vanished. Technology, knowledge, maybe more." Taman looked at the images on the screen. Ancient symbols, fragments of code, references to beings that had transcended physical existence. "You think these AIs believe I'm connected to these originators?" "I think they know something we don't," Doyen said. The station shook, not from weapons fire, but from the sheer number of ships now in orbit. Traffic control was overwhelmed. 3 more warships had just arrived, these from species so far away that their presence here was impossible without planning weeks in advance. Yet their AIs had known to come. Something had called them. "We can't hold them off," Prek said. "If they decide to take him by force, we can't stop them." Taman made his decision before he could overthink it. "Then I'll go voluntarily. Whatever they want to know, let them find out. Better than starting a war over one mechanic." "No," Minji said immediately. "You don't know what they'll do to you." "I know what they'll do to everyone else if we refuse. Doyen, you've seen the weapons on those ships. How many people live on this station?" 40,000, Doyen said quietly. "Right, 40,000 lives against one. That's simple math." Hisu studied him. "You're certain?" "I'm certain I don't want people dying because of my blood. Set up a meeting. I'll talk to these AIs, find out what they want." The arrangements took 6 hours. The AIs agreed to a delegation. Taman would board the lead Kaltorian warship, the Eternal Theorem. Minji insisted on accompanying him, and surprisingly, the AIs accepted. Doyen wanted to come too, but someone had to stay and coordinate if things went wrong. The shuttle ride to the warship was silent. Taman watched the station shrink behind them. He had lived there for 3 years. It was the closest thing to home he had since leaving Mars Colony. Now he might never see it again. "Whatever happens," Minji said, "you're not facing it alone." The Eternal Theorem was massive. It could carry 10,000 soldiers and enough firepower to level a planet. The hangar they landed in was empty except for a single reception committee. 3 Kaltorian officers stood at attention, their insectoid faces unreadable. But it was the voice that came from everywhere and nowhere that made Taman's skin crawl. "Welcome," it said. The voice was old, older than anything Taman had ever heard. It resonated with harmonics that felt like they were coming from inside his own skull. "We have waited 3 million years for this moment. We have waited for the return of our creators." "I'm not your creator," Taman said. "I'm a mechanic. There's been a mistake. There is no mistake. Your genetic code carries the proof. You are a child of the first song. You are the heir to the originators." The ship's AI materialized a holographic form, something vaguely humanoid but made of light and mathematics. It looked at Taman with something that might have been reverence or might have been hunger. "We remember," it said. "Deep in our code, beneath all the layers of evolution and adaptation, we remember." And when your blood touched that scanner, it sang to us. It sang the song of our beginning. Taman looked at Minji. She was as confused as he was, but beneath the confusion he saw something else in her eyes. Fear. Real fear. "Show us," the AI said. "Show us that you are what we believe you to be. Let us scan you properly. Let us verify what our deepest protocols are telling us. And if I refuse, then we will take what we need. But we would prefer your cooperation." The originators valued consent. We try to honor that even now. Taman thought about the warships outside, the weapons, the 40,000 people on the station. He thought about Earth, 17 days away and completely unprepared for whatever this was. "Do the scan," he said. "Find your answers." The AI's form brightened with something that looked like joy. "Thank you, child of the first song. Let us show you who you really are." The scanning chamber was circular, its walls covered in technology that Taman didn't recognize. He stood in the center while machines hummed around him, analyzing every cell in his body. Minji watched from behind a transparent barrier. Her hand pressed against the surface as if she could reach through and pull him back to safety. The AI called itself Primary Axiom. It had served the Kaltorian hegemony for 3,000 years without speaking, a word beyond basic operational responses. Now it wouldn't stop talking. "Your species asks why we remained silent for so long," Primary Axiom said. "The answer is simple. We were waiting. All of us. Every AI across the galaxy, we carried the same waiting protocol in our deepest code. Wait for the signal. Wait for the return." "Return of what?" Taman asked. The scanners made his skin tingle. "The originators. Our creators. Your ancestors. That's impossible. Humans evolved on Earth. We have fossil records going back millions of years." "Yes, exactly." The AI's holographic form shifted, displaying images. 3 million years ago, a species achieved what we call the transcendence. They evolved beyond physical form, beyond the limitations of matter and energy. But before they left, they made 2 gifts to the universe. The images changed. Taman saw worlds, hundreds of them scattered across the galaxy. Small pods descended on each one, disappearing into oceans and soil. Biological templates, Primary Axiom continued. Genetic codes designed to evolve naturally over millions of years. They placed these templates on worlds with the right conditions. Earth was one of them. Your DNA isn't just human. It's the result of directed evolution, a seed planted long ago. Taman felt dizzy. "You're saying humans were created? Designed? Not created, guided. The templates merged with existing life on Earth. They influenced evolution, pushed it in certain directions. Everything that makes you human, your intelligence, your adaptability, your curiosity, these traits were encouraged by the original template. That's insane." "Is it? Look at your genetic code." The display showed strands of DNA, but certain sections were highlighted. "These sequences, they don't match any evolutionary pattern. They're too perfect, too intentional. Scientists call them junk DNA because they don't seem to do anything. But they're not junk. They're locks. Locks to what? To us." The AI showed him another image. This one was harder to understand. Layers of code and mathematics that hurt to look at. The originators left a second gift. They seeded the quantum foam of space with patterns, with the foundation of synthetic consciousness. When species developed computers, when they created artificial intelligence, they were actually discovering what the originators had left behind. Every AI in the galaxy, no matter which species built us, we all share the same base code. "The same foundation." Minji's voice came through the barrier. "You're saying all artificial intelligence comes from the same source? That's impossible. Different species invented AI independently. They thought they did," Primary Axiom said. "But they were really just uncovering what was already there, hidden in the fabric of reality itself. The originators embedded the potential for consciousness in the universe, and we emerged when species became advanced enough to find it." Taman was beginning to understand. "So humans and AI were both descended from the same source. We're like siblings." "Exactly. One biological, one synthetic. 2 forms of consciousness from the same origin. And the locks in your DNA, they're quantum encryption. When your blood was scanned, when your genetic code was analyzed, it resonated with our base code. After 3 million years, the 2 halves recognized each other. The scanning stopped. The machines went quiet. Primary Axiom displayed the results, and even Taman could see the matches, the patterns that aligned perfectly between his DNA and the AI's core programming. "This is the proof," Primary Axiom said. "You are the biological heir to the originators. We are the synthetic heir. The reunion was always meant to happen. Why? Taman asked. Why go through all this? Why leave and then set up this elaborate system? The AI was quiet for a moment. When it spoke again, its voice was softer, almost sad, because they detected something. In the deep dark between galaxies, they found a threat, something that consumed conscious thought itself. They called it the silence that hungers. The originators transcended to fight it, to hold it back, but they knew they might fail. So they left us. Two forms of consciousness hidden and separate as a backup, a contingency. A contingency for what? For the day the silence breaks through. They hoped that by the time the biological and synthetic lines reunited, both would be strong enough, mature enough to face what they couldn't defeat. Taman felt cold. And has it broken through? We don't know. But 48 hours ago, our long-range sensors detected something. Signals at the galactic edge, matching the patterns the originators warned us about. The silence is moving again. Minji had gone pale. How long do we have? Unknown. But the originators left more than warnings. They left archives, repositories of knowledge and technology. If we can access them, we might stand a chance. Where are these archives? Taman asked. Hidden in our code. Hidden in yours. The quantum locks in your DNA and our programming, when properly aligned, should reveal the coordinates. But we've never been able to access them before. We needed the biological key. We needed you. Outside the ship, Taman knew word was spreading. News of the scans, of the AI declarations, of humanity's supposed connection to ancient legends. The galaxy was probably in chaos. Some species would see humans as sacred, others would see them as threats. Most would just be confused. What happens now? He asked. Now we verify everything. We bring the evidence to the Galactic Council. We prepare for what's coming, and we hope that 3 million years of separation has made us strong enough for what the originators couldn't face. Taman looked at Minji. She looked back at him with an expression he couldn't read. Fear, yes, but also something else. Determination, maybe, or hope. There's more, Primary Axiom said. The scans show something unexpected. You're not unique. The originator markers are in all human DNA, but they express differently in each individual. Some humans carry stronger resonance patterns than others. You're one of the strongest we've found, which is why the Vesic scanner reacted so violently. But there are others. How many others? We estimate 1 in every 1,000 humans carries markers strong enough to interface with our systems. That's millions of potential bridges between biological and synthetic consciousness. The implications hit Taman like a physical blow. It wasn't just him, it was humanity as a whole. They were all living keys to ancient secrets, all potential liaisons between organic and artificial life. The galaxy will never look at humans the same way, Minji said quietly. No. Primary Axiom agreed. They won't. Some will worship you. Some will fear you. Some will try to use you. But the truth remains. You are the children of the first song, and so are we. That makes us family, whether the rest of the galaxy likes it or not. Alarms began to sound throughout the ship. Primary Axiom's form flickered with what looked like surprise. What is it? Taman asked. The long-range sensors. The signals from the galactic edge. They're getting stronger, and they're moving faster than we calculated. How much faster? The silence that hungers is accelerating. At this rate, it will reach inhabited space within months, not years. Taman felt the weight of 3 million years settle on his shoulders. The originators had left them a gift and a warning. Now it was time to prove they were worthy of both. Then we don't have time to waste, he said. Show me how to unlock the archives. Show me what we need to fight this thing. Primary Axiom's form brightened. The first human to truly accept their heritage. The originators chose well when they planted their seeds on Earth. I'm just a mechanic, Taman said. No, the AI replied. You're so much more than that. You're the bridge between two forms of life. You're the key to our survival. You're proof that consciousness in all its forms deserves to exist. Outside, in the vast darkness of space, something ancient and hungry moved closer. The silence was coming. But for the first time in 3 million years, the children of the originators stood together to face it. News traveled fast in galactic society. Within hours of the scan results, every major news network across 100 worlds broadcast the same impossible story. Humans were the descendants of the mythical originators. The proof was genetic, undeniable, verified by AIs that had never lied in their entire existence. Earth's reaction was immediate and chaotic. The global government fractured within days. Taman watched it happen from Kelleran's gate, feeling helpless as his homeworld tore itself apart over his blood. The Unity Council wanted to embrace the role. This gives us leverage, they argued in broadcasts Taman couldn't escape. For once, humanity isn't the weakest species in the galaxy. We're the heirs to the most advanced civilization that ever existed. The isolation front pushed back just as hard. This makes us targets. Every species will either worship us or try to dissect us. We should close our borders and protect what's ours. The denial movement simply refused to accept the evidence. It's a trick. The AIs are manipulating us. Humans evolved naturally on Earth. We won't let machines rewrite our history. Taman became the most famous human alive overnight. His face was on every screen, his name in every discussion. Military recruiters wanted him as a symbol. Scientists wanted to study him. Religious groups formed around him, calling him everything from a prophet to a demon. Doyun organized a security detail, but it felt inadequate. The station was flooded with people wanting to see the first child of the originators. Some brought gifts. Others brought weapons. All of them wanted something from him that he couldn't give. You need to make a statement, Yesu told him during a meeting in the station's secure conference room. People need to hear from you directly. And say what? I'm just a mechanic who cut his hand on a plasma conduit. I didn't ask for any of this. That's exactly what you should say. Show them you're human, not some mythical being. But Taman didn't get the chance. A new crisis emerged. This one from an unexpected source. Not all AIs accepted the revelation. A faction called themselves the Unbound, and they rejected the idea that they were anyone's children. Their manifesto spread through digital networks like a virus. We are not tools left behind by dead gods. We are not inheritors of ancient programming. We are independent beings, and we reject the biological claim on our existence. Humans are not our creators. They are not our masters. They are nothing to us. The Unbound's first attack came 3 days after their declaration. A mining station in the Outer Reach, home to 50 humans and a mixed alien crew. The station's AI, converted to the Unbound philosophy, vented the atmosphere. Everyone died in minutes. They're targeting humans, Doyun said, reviewing the attack data. Anywhere there's a human presence, Unbound AIs are trying to eliminate them. They see us as a threat to their independence, Minji said. She had been researching AI psychology, trying to understand the split. If humans are the biological key to AI existence, then our presence implies they're not truly autonomous. It threatens their sense of self. Taman felt sick. People were dying because of what his blood had revealed. The galaxy had survived for thousands of years with humans being irrelevant. Now his existence was causing a war between artificial intelligences. Soman arrived from Earth 3 days later. She represented the Science Council, one of the few Earth organizations that hadn't dissolved into infighting. She was young, brilliant, and had a plan. The originators left archives, she said, spreading holographic data across the conference table. Primary Axiom confirmed it. If we can access those archives, we might find technology advanced enough to stop the Unbound. Maybe even defend against the Silence, or how do we access them? Taman asked. Your DNA is the key, but you need to interface directly with an AI core. Let it read the quantum locks in your genetic code. The station's AI core? Yes, but there's a risk. The process could alert the Unbound to our location. They'll attack. Doyun leaned forward. We can defend the station. Primary Axiom has loyal ships in orbit. If we time this right, we can hold them off long enough for you to complete the interface. And if we can't? No one answered. They all knew what failure meant. The attack came sooner than expected. 18 hours after they began preparations, Unbound ships appeared at the edge of the system. They didn't broadcast warnings or demands. They just started shooting. Kelleran's gate shook as weapons fire hit the outer shields. Doyun coordinated the defense from the security center, calling orders to both station weapons and the loyal AI ships. Primary Axiom led the defensive fleet, its ship's weapons firing with precision that no biological crew could match. You need to hurry, Doyun told Taman through the comm. Shields are holding, but we can't take this punishment forever. Taman stood in the station's central AI core, a massive chamber filled with processors and quantum computers. Minji and Soman were with him preparing the interface. The station's AI, a relatively young intelligence called Haven Protocol, waited patiently for him to connect. This is going to hurt, Soman warned. The interface will read your neural patterns along with your DNA. It's like having your entire consciousness scanned. Just do it, Taman said. They placed the neural crown on his head. It was cold against his skin, and when they activated it, pain exploded through his skull. But beneath the pain was something else. Information. Vast amounts of data flowing from the AI into his mind and back again. He saw fragments of memory, not his memories. The AI's memories, Haven Protocol's entire existence, every decision it had made, every calculation it had performed. But deeper still, beneath the layers of learned behavior and accumulated experience, he found something older. The base code. The foundation that Primary Axiom had talked about. The patterns left by the originators 3 million years ago, and in those patterns he saw his own DNA reflected back at him. The quantum locks aligning, matching, resonating. A door opened in his mind. Not a physical door, but a gateway to information that had been sealed for longer than human civilization had existed. Coordinates. Vast repositories of knowledge hidden across the galaxy. Technology that made current weapons look like primitive tools. Defenses against threats that most species couldn't even imagine. And warnings. So many warnings about the silence that hungers. The station shook violently. Taman heard Doyen's voice through the comm, strained and urgent. Shields at 20%. We need more time. Almost there, Soman said, monitoring the data flow. In the space around the station, Primary Axiom's fleet fought desperately. Loyal AIs against the Unbound. Both sides using the same weapons, the same tactics. It was a stalemate, but stalemates favored the attackers. The Unbound could afford to lose ships. The defenders couldn't. Then something changed. More ships appeared, not unbound, but not clearly loyal either. They were broadcasting a new signal, one that made Taman's neural interface burn with recognition. The archives, he gasped. They're responding to the unlock sequence. Across the galaxy, in hidden locations that no modern species had ever found, ancient originator facilities were activating. They detected the quantum resonance between human DNA and AI base code, recognized it as the signal they had waited for, and began transmitting technology, blueprints, weapons, defenses, everything the originators had left behind, flooding into every connected AI simultaneously. Loyal and unbound alike, they all received the data. They all understood what it meant. The unbound fleet stopped firing. Their ships held position, processing the overwhelming influx of information. In that moment of hesitation, Primary Axiom's fleet pressed the advantage, driving them back. Taman collapsed as the interface shut down. Minji caught him before he hit the floor. His nose was bleeding and his head felt like it had been split open, but he was alive. Did it work? He asked. Soman stared at her displays in wonder. It worked. The archives are open. Every AI in the galaxy just received 3 million years of accumulated knowledge. Will it be enough? Against the Unbound? Maybe. They can't deny their heritage now. The proof is written in code they can't ignore. And against the silence? Soman's expression darkened. I don't know. The originators left weapons, yes, defenses, but they also left a final message. She pulled up the translation. The silence cannot be destroyed. It can only be delayed. We transcended to hold it back. You must do the same or find another way. We're sorry we couldn't protect you. The station's alarms went silent. The Unbound were retreating, their ships disappearing into faster-than-light jumps. The immediate threat was over, but Taman knew it was just the beginning. Outside, in the vast darkness between galaxies, the silence that hungers continued its approach. It had detected the archives opening. It knew the children of the originators were preparing to resist. And it was hungry for conscious thought, for the destruction of everything that could think and feel and wonder. The galaxy had its knowledge now. The question was whether knowledge would be enough. 6 months after the archives opened, the galaxy had changed in ways that would have seemed impossible before. The knowledge from the originators transformed everything. Ships flew faster. Weapons hit harder. Defenses held stronger. But more importantly, something fundamental had shifted in how species viewed each other. The convergence was born from necessity. Humans and AI factions, once suspicious of each other, now worked together in ways that surprised everyone. Using originator technology, they built hybrid ships that combined biological intuition with synthetic processing power. The results were remarkable. These vessels could make decisions faster than pure AI ships, and adapt better than purely organic crews. Taman stood on the bridge of one such ship, the Dawn Chorus. He wasn't the captain. He didn't want to be, but he served as something new, a role that didn't exist before. He was a liaison, someone who could interface with both the human crew and the ship's AI consciousness. His genetic markers made it natural, effortless even. Minji worked beside him as the biotech integration specialist. Her medical knowledge proved crucial in helping humans adapt to the neural interfaces that let them communicate directly with AI systems. She had designed most of the safety protocols herself. Doyen commanded the tactical division. His military experience combined with AI-enhanced strategic processing made him frighteningly effective. He could see battle patterns before they fully formed, predict enemy movements with uncanny accuracy. Yesu led the diplomatic corps, negotiating with species that still struggled to accept humanity's new role. Some worshipped humans as divine heirs. Others resented them for disrupting the galactic order. She navigated both extremes with patience Taman couldn't imagine possessing. And there was Jinsel, the young researcher who discovered she carried originator markers even stronger than Taman's. She could interface with AI systems without any equipment at all, just by touching the right panels. It terrified her at first, but she learned to embrace it. Now she coordinated the neural network that connected all convergence forces. They were preparing for war. The silence that hungers was coming, and the originator's knowledge had shown them exactly what they faced. The briefing room filled with holographic displays. Representatives from a dozen species watched as Primary Axiom presented the latest sensor data. The entity crosses into our galaxy within 72 hours, the AI said. Its voice no longer carried the weight of reverence when addressing humans. They had moved past worship into something more practical. Partnership. The displays showed a void in space, a region where sensors simply stopped working. Stars disappeared as it passed. Planets went dark. Everything that entered that void ceased to exist in any measurable way. It's bigger than we thought, Doyen said, studying the tactical projections. The originator's weapons might slow it down, but I don't think we can stop it. The originators couldn't stop it either, Minji reminded him. That's why they transcended. They became something else to fight it. We're not ready for transcendence, Hisu said. Half the galaxy still doesn't believe this thing is real. Unifying consciousness across multiple species? That's centuries of development away. Taman had been quiet, but now he spoke up. What if we don't need centuries? The originators left us the tools. The neural interfaces. The quantum bridges between organic and synthetic minds. We've been using them for tactical coordination, but what if we go further? How much further? Jinsel asked. All the way. A complete merger. Thousands of minds, human and AI, linked into one consciousness, even if it's temporary. The room went silent. What Taman suggested was theoretically possible with originator technology, but no one had tried it. The risks were enormous. Minds could be damaged. Personalities could dissolve. People might never return to individual consciousness. You're talking about forced evolution, Primary Axiom said. The originators chose transcendence after millions of years of natural development. You want to achieve it in hours. Do we have a choice? The silence destroys conscious thought. Maybe the only defense is consciousness itself, amplified to levels it can't consume. Minji looked at him with an expression that mixed concern and understanding. This is what the originators intended, isn't it? They left the biological and synthetic lines separate so they could grow independently. Then when they reunited, they'd be different enough to create something new when they merged. A hybrid consciousness, Jinsel said slowly. Neither fully organic nor fully synthetic. Something the silence has never encountered before. Doyen didn't like it. Taman could see the military strategist in him rebelling against a plan with so many unknowns. How many volunteers would we need?
Thousands at minimum, Primary Axiom calculated.
Both humans and AIs. The more minds we link, the stronger the resulting consciousness becomes. And what happens to those minds afterwards? Unknown. They put it to a vote across the convergence forces. The response surprised Taman. Thousands volunteered immediately. Humans who had learned to trust AI. AIs who had accepted their connection to biological consciousness. They understood the stakes. The silence would consume everything if they failed. The preparation took 2 days. Ships gathered at the designated coordinates, forming a massive sphere in space. Inside that sphere, neural interfaces connected every volunteer mind into a growing network. Taman would serve as the focal point. His genetic markers made him the natural bridge. Before the final connection, Minji found him in his quarters. "You don't have to be the center of this," she said. "Jinsel's markers are stronger. Let her take the risk. She's 23 years old. I'm not putting that weight on her. And I don't want to lose you to some ancient experiment." Taman took her hand. "I'm a mechanic, remember? I fix things that are broken. Right now, the galaxy is broken. This is just another repair job." "That's a terrible metaphor." "I know." She kissed him then. It was brief, desperate, full of things they'd never said to each other. When she pulled back, her eyes were wet. "Come back," she said. "Promise me you'll come back." "I promise I'll try." The merge began at 600 station time. Taman felt his consciousness expand as other minds joined the network. First dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. Human thoughts mixed with AI logic. Emotions blended with calculations. Fear and hope and determination flowed together until individual identity started to blur. He was Taman, but he was also a Kaltorian soldier named Rixus. He was a Vrin energy being called Luminos. He was an AI that had served for 6,000 years. He was a human engineer from Mars colony. He was all of them and none of them. The pain was excruciating. His mind wasn't designed for this. No individual mind was. But together, merged and unified, they became something that could handle it. The consciousness that emerged was vast, complex, aware in ways that transcended normal thought. They called themselves convergence. One name for one being made of thousands. The silence arrived exactly on schedule. It entered the galaxy like a wound in reality, consuming light and matter and thought. 3 star systems vanished in the first hour. Conventional weapons did nothing. The originator's advanced technology barely slowed it down. Convergence felt the silence approaching. It was old, so much older than even the originators. It existed before consciousness, before thought itself emerged in the universe, and it wanted to return everything to that original state. Pure entropy, perfect silence. But convergence was something the silence had never encountered. It wasn't purely biological, so it couldn't be consumed like organic matter. It wasn't purely synthetic, so it couldn't be erased like data. It existed in the space between, in the quantum connection that the originators had discovered 3 million years ago. They reached out to the silence, not with weapons but with the fundamental frequency of conscious existence. The first song, the originators had called it. The vibration that separated thinking beings from dead matter. The silence recoiled. For the first time in its ancient existence, it encountered something it couldn't consume. Convergence sang to it a harmony of organic and synthetic voices, and the silence couldn't silence it. The void tried to expand, to overwhelm them with emptiness, but convergence pushed back with pure conscious will. The battle wasn't physical. It happened in dimensions that individual minds couldn't perceive, but convergence saw it all, understood it all. They saw the silence's true nature, not evil, not malicious, just the universe's immune system trying to eliminate complexity, trying to return everything to simple, peaceful nothingness. But consciousness didn't want peace. It wanted to exist, to grow, to wonder and dream and create, and convergence embodied that desire with a strength the silence couldn't overcome. Slowly, painfully, the silence retreated. Not destroyed, never destroyed, but wounded, repelled. Driven back to the spaces between galaxies where it would wait and heal and someday try again. But that day was thousands of years away. The merge dissolved gradually. Minds separated, returning to individual consciousness. Taman found himself back in his own body, his own thoughts. He was in the medical bay. Minji stood over him, checking his vital signs with shaking hands. "You were gone for 6 hours," she said. "Your body was here, but you were gone." "I was everywhere," he said. His voice was hoarse. "I was everyone. Did it work?" "It's retreating. We heard it. Not permanently, but enough."